Giving yourself permission to be different. Do you ever sometimes get the feeling that you know what you need to do, but you're just a bit unsure if you're actually allowed to do it? Maybe you get an attack of the shoulds. I really should answer that call. I really should go to that birthday party. I really should look that person in the eye. Well, what if you had permission to do what you needed to do? Hi everyone, Paul Mikulev here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So I don't know about you, but I know I can put a lot of pressure on myself to do what I think I'm supposed to do. And that might not even be an external demand. It might be my own ideas about what I want for myself. In some sense, for me at least, the less reasonable the demand sounds like to me, the easier it is for me to push back against it. And in some situations, I'm really good at advocating for myself. I remember a big conflict I had with a teacher at school once. I can't remember what I had supposedly done wrong, but I was supposed to sit outside the class on a chair for a bit. No big deal, except the chair was really uncomfortable, so I stood instead. And when I got told off for pacing around, I sat on the floor next to the chair with my back against the wall instead. So as you can probably guess, these little tiny refusals to do exactly what the teacher was asking me to do was interpreted as a challenge to his authority and ultimately did not end very well. But the only reason I did that is because I had a very strong motivation. Sitting in that chair for so long was very, very uncomfortable. I was getting a significant amount of back pain and it was just intolerable. We need to do something about it. So for me at least, advocating for myself in those types of situations is relatively easy, relatively straightforward. But what I find a lot more difficult is trying to advocate for myself in a situation where what I need is not immediately obvious. I'll give you an example from this morning. My plan for today was to get up and record this video. I'd had a really restful weekend. I'd had plenty of sleep the night before. Everything seemed to be fine, except I just didn't feel like getting up. And so my socialized brain quickly told myself off and said, well, bad luck, you just have to get up. That's what you do in the morning. So I fought with that a little bit, but eventually did get up, not much later than usual. But again, for some completely unknown reason, I just had no energy or motivation. My body was still asleep. My brain was still asleep. I just wasn't waking up in the usual way that I would in the morning. And so again, my should brain kicks in. Lots of people wake up tired. Lots of people have it much harder than you do. Just get up, do the thing. You'll probably feel better later. Except I'm trying not to burn out, remember? I'm trying to listen to my body. I'm trying to get into a good rhythm where I don't need to push myself every second of every day just to get by. But at the same time, I do have work to do. I can't afford to just not record a video today. Or at least that's what my brain was telling me at the time. The thought of taking the morning off, the thought of maybe taking the whole day off and not recording anything, that was slowly causing a significant amount of anxiety. It's like, when will I feel okay enough to actually do the things that I want to do? So I needed a way to break this anxiety cycle. And what I did was a deliberate strategy that I've been practicing recently, which is to consciously decide to give myself permission. In primary school, if I wasn't feeling well, I would ask my mum if I could stay home from school, and she'd give me permission to not go into school that day. So these days, who do I ask for permission to stay home or take a morning off if I'm sick? There's no one. I'm not even employed by someone who I could ring and say, hey boss, I'm not feeling all that great. Would it be okay if I had the day off today? I need to make these decisions for myself. And weirdly, that actually makes it harder. How do I give myself permission to take a day off? Well, if I were really sick, if I had a migraine or a flu or something like that, and it was just obvious that taking a day off would be the best idea, then the decision would be easy. But this is not like that. I don't have the flu. I don't have a migraine. I have a mild headache. I feel tired and I don't have a lot of energy. So what does that mean? Ultimately, to break the anxiety loop, I just need to make a decision and stick with it. If I decide to push through, then push through. Keep going, don't look back, just do the thing. If I decide to go back to bed, then I have to do that without the anxiety, without constantly questioning and re-questioning my decision, without those kind of shoulds coming in and reminding me every 3 seconds, you really should be working right now. And that's where the permission comes in. I never felt guilty taking a sick day from primary school because my mum told me I could and it's okay. So in this case, I went back to bed for an hour. I consciously relaxed. I reminded myself how grateful I was that I am able to take a sick day and I don't need to push until I reach burnout. I just had to remind myself over and over again, it's not the end of the world. Things will be okay somehow. Just do what you need to do right now and the rest will worry about itself later. Another example that comes to mind that a friend shared with me this week, she has some young kids at home, and so once they're in bed, that's kind of her free time. And so the tendency is to get a lot of energy suddenly and want to stay up late and want to do all of these things because she's finally got free time. Except that's not always very kind to future self because you're kind of robbing future self of a good night's sleep. But what would happen in reality is that she would stay up, be conflicted the whole time, not really relax, not really get into any activity, still end up going to bed really late, still end up really tired the next morning, and that's just a lose-lose situation for everyone. So what she was telling me is that recently, by giving herself permission to just follow her energy, you know what, it's midnight, and I want to do this thing because I don't feel tired yet. Let's actually do it. Let's use my energy for something positive while it's here. Yes, I'll be tired tomorrow morning, but let's face it, I've survived on only a few hours sleep many times before. And so weirdly, it doesn't actually matter which decision you make at the time, whether it's permission to take a break or permission to push through. The key is if I make a decision and stick to it, then I'll get a result. And if it turns out really badly, then I'll know that's probably not a good idea to do again next time. I've just finished writing the self-awareness chapter of my upcoming book. And part of developing self-awareness is learning how your body tends to respond. This feeling that I'm getting right now of being kind of tired and kind of unmotivated, how will my body respond if I try and push through? How will my body respond if I go back to bed for an hour? Because if I'm out of balance, it kind of matters which way I'm leaning so that I can lean back towards the center. And sometimes that means up-regulating myself. Maybe this morning I could have chosen to go for a walk or do some exercise or do something else to really wake myself up, getting ready for the day so that my systems start to all turn on and suddenly I've got the energy to keep going. Weirdly, we don't automatically know how we're feeling. We don't automatically know how our bodies are going to respond to certain things. That's why parents play a huge role in helping their kids emotionally regulate and develop self-awareness. When it's bedtime and suddenly there's a flurry of tears because the little one wants to stay up, sometimes we need the discipline to just stick with the original plan because we know it works. And from an autistic adult perspective, if we're looking to the neurotypical population for advice on what to do to regulate ourselves, that might not be very helpful. That's one of the reasons it can be so beneficial to get to know others in the autistic community, because there's such a variation of experience that if I tell someone, so what I need to do is wake up at 7 a.m. and go for a walk and have breakfast and then go back to bed for an hour before I start my day, instead of people saying, well, that's weird, there's probably something wrong there. Have you tried something different? In the autistic population, maybe it's just that's what you need to do. And if that's what you need to do, then maybe you can just give yourself permission to do it instead of trying to find a more socially explainable solution. Sleep cycles and rhythms and things like that are a real thing. If you are naturally nocturnal, it's going to be a lot harder for you to try and force your body to work on a different schedule. So for me here, the key is the practice of developing that self-awareness. It's literally practice by testing it out and seeing if it works with my own personal experience. So today, for example, I went back to bed for an hour and I completely relaxed and forgot about the stress of having to do stuff today. And ironically, that gave me a tiny bit of rest and a tiny bit of motivation at the same time, so that by the time I woke up, I already had a really strong idea for this video. And hopefully now that I've got a little bit of momentum, I can go about the rest of my day as well. There's no point giving myself permission to do something that's not good for me. And the more sure I am of what I need in any given situation, the easier it is to be a bit black and white about asking for it. Just like sitting on that chair at the start of the video, it was giving me so much pain that it was just a no-brainer that I had to do something about it. And that's where in the subtler everyday moments, developing that self-knowledge and those emotional regulation strategies that work for you allows you to then give yourself permission to act on it. And I know this is a lot easier said than done. Weirdly, for some reason, it's often easier to be kinder to others than it is to ourselves. Sometimes it can be easier to trust others than it can be to trust ourselves. And so building up that experience of it worked last time, so maybe it'll work again this time, is also a big part of the process. Okay, I should probably leave it there for today. If you're interested to hear more about my book, or maybe improve your own emotional intelligence, self-knowledge, self-awareness, emotional regulation strategies, things like that, you can find more information on the Autism from the Inside website. I've actually written an online EQ 101 course that goes through helping you to train all of those things. So as usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment if you can. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next week. Bye.